Ryan for introduction. My name is I the at Mazars. I think by now everyone is sick and tired of COVID-19. We decided to organize a webinar today to discuss the employment environment in Vietnam. Before we start, I'd like to take 2 minutes here an international for the 911 and territories. Also, and this time we in Vietnam. It may pass the economic active and of revenue in 2021. Notable affected by COVID-19 are permanent food processing, export related business, hospitality, and transportation. They have a group of panelists all here each are all right, so more national company in the us are affected and employment environment for the rest of the year. So to our first panelist is Ms. Marion could you take a minute for yourself and
Everyone, my name is Mai Carla. I'm a reader and I co our so through our family hours we are looking we are present in 9 countries and we employ 150 workers and more than 300 members, and we have a team dedicated to labor legal employment issues arise.
the panelists. I'd like to introduce Han, who's the head of people and organization at Vietnam. Yan, could you introduce yourself and Novartis, what does it in Vietnam?
Sure. Here in chat. So hi everyone, my name is Ans. Actually, I graduated from finance and accounting in the 1999, and I started my first career with institutes price Cooper and accountant before moved to management management. So until now, I have more years experience at few companies like Unilever, Johnson & Johnson, and for now, I work for Novartis Pharma in Vietnam as a head people organization. So more than 10 years working as a professional, I have been using the skill and bring access to the success of work in life. So that many projects in building, developing, and training talents in Vietnam. And with those words, it helps to bring Novartis as one of the best place to work company in Vietnam. So Novartis, for your information, Novartis is one of the pharmaceutical company in the world. And in Vietnam, we have a few specialized products in oncology, cardiovascular, plants, and there's many products support the life of patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Doan. Our next panelist is Mr. Doan, HR leader at Heineken Vietnam. I think many of you who are in the HR industry will recognize his name, and we're very fortunate to have Mr. Doan join us on our panel today. And Doan, please share a few sentences about yourself and the company Heineken, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's been introduced. My name is Doan. I have been working for quite some time and in over 29 years experience in HR management across various industries from hotel industry, FMCG most likely, and also in the financial institution, that include insurance. So for now, I'm looking for Heineken Vietnam, and as you know, Heineken is the brewer and or the owner of famous brands like Heineken, Tiger, Stronghold, and the series, as you can see, the one behind me. So I'm very excited to join this place to share my knowledge, experience to you.
Thank you, Doan. Our fourth panelist is Colin Blackwell, who I know for a long time. Colin actually came to Vietnam in the in the mid-90s. Colin is now the CEO of Enable Co. He's also head of HR committee at the Vietnam Business Forum. Colin, please introduce yourself and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I've been around for a very long time. I actually founded what's now VNHR, amongst other things. And I'm now have my own social enterprise here at Vietnam with the interesting task of trying to get Vietnamese with disabilities into artificial intelligence machine learning jobs for international clients. But also, as Jack mentioned, I'm with the Vietnam Business Forum, advising the government on the labour-related issues, and also with the a different part of the world. I'm part of a global impact portfolio, looking at these kind of issues around COVID and creation globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. And last but not least, for those who have looked for jobs in your career, you've all heard of Navigos Search, and we're very fortunate to have Ms. Nguyen Mai, Managing Director of Navigos join us on the panel. Hi, Mai, please share a few words about yourself.
Thì mình để riêng ra một bên, đó là hàng xem như đã bán. Giờ đối với trường hợp này thì xử lý vậy đi.
Hi, Mai, are you there?
Còn mấy món mà nó không lấy nữa thì coi như đã bán, mà nó không lấy nữa thì
Mai, are you there? Can you? No, Mai, are you there, please?
Hello, Angela.
Yes, hi, Mai. You're
okay. Sorry, some technical problems. Okay, so hello everyone. It's a great honor for me to join such a great panel in today's seminar. Just a few a short introduction about myself. I have over 20 years of experience in HR and recruitment fields. Starting off with the HR role in hospitality, And I moved on to the business management roles, including the first head, country head of UK-based professional bodies, ACCA. And then I joined Deloitte Vietnam, East Silicon Vietnam, and now I'm leading the team of executive search consultants in Navigos Search. Background about Navigos Search, we are a branch of Navigos Group Vietnam, which is the leading service providers for recruitment solutions in Vietnam. And also brands that most companies here already know about, Vietnam Works and Navigos. In our companies, we have over 670 people locating in 3 offices, Hanoi, Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City. And in the executive search division, which is led by myself, we have over 170 consultants spreading our service across all of the industries in Vietnam, and we are serving the companies in a local market, as well as new investors who are planning to come to Vietnam to establish their business here. And I'm very happy to be the partner of Mazars Vietnam, joining hands together in finding the most optimal solutions to support businesses in Vietnam and in the region. To you, and I hope that we will have a very useful and informative session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mai. Before we go to the panel for the questions, I just want to share a very big important number from Vietnam. COVID-19 has hit Vietnam starting in Vietnam at the end of January, direct impact in the domestic labor market. Employment reached the highest rate in over the last 5 years. The first quarter alone, there were 10 million people affected and 9 million jobs were lost due to COVID-19. The number of unemployed people of working age of population was nearly 1.1 million in the first quarter alone. So my first question to the panel, how has overall employment been affected, in your view, in the past 3 months? And probably the best person to answer this is the recruiting industry. So Mai, can I ask you to take this on? Question on.
Okay, thank you, Jack. I think that everyone already have read a lot about the information in the job market in the past 3 months. And we, from our discussion with the clients, as well as from the recent surveys that Vietnam Works and also Navigos Search conducted with our clients, we have seen that there have been around 40% of the businesses in Vietnam got affected by COVID-19. Around 10% of the businesses choose to both lay off and cut down the employees' salaries and benefits. And about 30% of the businesses choose to find all of the methodologies to cut costs. If we look at the senior positions job orders, for example, we also can see the negative impact of the COVID. We got negative growth year over year in the first quarter of this year for the number of job orders for the senior positions. And a lot of our clients also got the senior positions filled by the expat that are put on hold. And that would be some implications for the negative impact by COVID-19 to the job markets.
Thank you, Mai. Colin, what do you see on your end regarding the job market in the past quarter and for the rest of the year?
So obviously the results aren't good at the moment within Vietnam, but relative to other countries, we're actually doing quite well. When I'm doing these global phone-ins with the World Bank, and we have 40, 50 countries reporting in, it's a lot worse elsewhere. So Vietnam has something actually very good in that the economy is quite resilient and adaptive. So when a job changes very heavily because of the pandemic, either the job is removed or it has to adapt. And Vietnam is better than most countries at adapting. So it's not good, but it's not as bad as elsewhere. Exports are holding up. So generally, Vietnam has one of the rosiest outlooks globally, I think.
Thank you, Colin. So when the government announced that all travels are banned entering the country and leaving the country, the first industry I can think of that's heavily affected is the travel industry, and probably the hospitality industry as well. Mai, what other industry do you see that were heavily affected by COVID-19?
Actually, COVID-19 has hit quite a number of industries that related directly to the business results, such as tourism, hospitalities, aviation, of course. We all know about the fact that Vietnam Airlines, for example, they lay off temporarily around 10,000 employees during the COVID-19 peak time. And some services like the traditional online or training businesses, they are also got hit by COVID-19. And when we discuss with our clients, we also saw two specific industries that got affected. First is the textile garment. Because textile garment industry, our clients shared that their orders, the commodity orders, have been had been put on hold until probably July or August. And then IT outsourcing is also another industry sectors that got affected a lot, simply because the clients of those companies are actually in the US or UK and in Europe. So they are the ones who are struggling now and busy dealing with their own problems. And therefore, our companies, the companies in Vietnam, is also somehow got affected.
Thank you, Mai. Before we go to the next question, may I remind everyone that if you have any questions you want to ask the panelists, please feel free to type it in, and we will have a question and answer session towards the end of this webinar. So working through turbulent times, I mean, every employees in all the companies, I would imagine, know that business is tough, companies are struggling. I mean, how do you keep employees' morale up, and how do you keep employees engaged during this turbulent time? I mean, if you were an HR leader, I mean, what would you do? And Doan, can I ask you to share your experience, how you keep the employees motivated and engaged?
Yes, during the time of uncertainty, what we believe is necessary and valid for employees is about information. And we believe that if we don't provide them resourceful and informative information, they will go outside, they will listen to rumor, they will surf internet everywhere, social media, and they will be facing or dealing with false information or fake news. So this is, we believe that as a management team, we believe this is our responsibility to communicate transparently and very openly, and also educate our employees how to deal with this moment of crisis, and also prepare themselves, make themselves ready to face the turmoil. Most of all, what we believe is the top priority is about the safety of our employees and also their families, their dependents, their relatives.
Okay, thanks. And do you have anything to add to that? I mean, how do you keep your employees engaged and motivated during the past 3 months and for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so there's a few impacts to the employee morales during the work from home periods, that they cannot go to work, and work from home, actually they have some limitations. As Andon mentioned earlier, that the key important thing is to keep the employee motivated and ensure the safety of the employee and their family. I think the most important points from the company strategies in order to keep employee motivations is continue engaging and even while working from home and even now when they go back to work, they still keep learning to prepare for the coming back periods. And in Vietnamese, we have a sentence like trở lại và lợi hại hơn xưa, mean when you come back, you even better. So prepare ourselves, prepare the associate, prepare the workforce, why they have some impact in terms of the morale by like keep engaging in learning, engaging in motivations and even social work, social things they do at home is the strategy that I see many companies they are applies in the labor market.
Thank you, Ed. This morning, when I was getting ready for this webinar, I read a news article, I think Forbes magazine, that said that Uber laid off 3,000 employees through a Zoom call, which I thought was pretty harsh thing to do to lay people off. Airbnb laid off 25% of their workforce. So during this period of social distancing and the new normal, I think staff cost is probably one of the highest costs that the companies bear when they are operating. So really, what steps can companies take to manage employee costs versus actually cutting employees or reducing headcount? Are there any other ways that they can manage their employee costs? Colin, do you want to take this on?
Yeah, certainly. During the 2008 recession, I had the honor while I was in a global HR role of reducing a headcount by 20,000 people. And the learnings from that is you have to look really at what you're trying to achieve with the cost cutting. You want to cut the cost, not just the number of jobs. So companies often approach us in the wrong way. They see that, yes, the headcount cost is the most expensive. I was sitting on a payroll of billions of euros. But if you just set the HR department a target of reducing headcount, and they pass that on to line management, often it goes wrong because the line managers will say, okay, here's a headcount reduction target, not a cost reduction target. So let's take the easiest decisions possible. Let's outsource the cleaning service. And we've got 10 people. But the cost actually went up when you did that. So it has to be very, very carefully thought through with finance and HR talking with each other on this to be effective. And there are other ways around it. For example, when I was in Germany, there were a lot of employees taking voluntary leave for a year or something like that. So out of all the countries, Germany was the only one we didn't have to reduce headcount because there was that flexibility built in. So there's loads of different contractual arrangements. For example, having people as freelance work relationships, more home working. There's loads of different ways to share the risk with employees rather than having an all or nothing where they just lose their jobs.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. I think under Vietnam law, there are a number of actions that employers can take to reduce their workforce. They could restructure. They're allowed to have work stoppage because of the epidemic, and the employee can negotiate salary during suspension of operation. There can be a temporary salary reduction, and there could be and if the employer decides to actually terminate the employee, there can be a negotiate mutual separation. Do you see any of these steps being taken by companies in Vietnam? Marion, do you see your clients doing this or coming to you, asking you what they can legally do to reduce headcount?
Yes, Jack, absolutely. And especially because we understand that the labor authorities are encouraging companies to prioritize, alternatives that will maintain employment to the maximum extent possible. So the advice that, we give to our client is first, try to restructure and find arrangement with your employees. So leave arrangements are one of the options that can be availed by employers in Vietnam. So in general, the first step will be to ask your employee to take their annual leave. So regarding this possibility, just the audience should know that employers have actually the possibility to fix the timeline for annual leave after consulting the opinion of its employees. So, you don't have to have the approval of the employee. You can just simply say to your employee, okay, you're going to need to take leave during this period of time. There is no specific advance notice period that must be given to the employees, but of course, a transparent discussion with your employees is always preferred. When there is no more annual paid leave, you can, still negotiate with your employees to take unpaid leave, but this is subject to the mutual agreement of the parties. So the employee must consent on this. In terms of Vietnamese law, there is also additional options. You mentioned indeed, the suspension of labor contracts. So this is possible. You can negotiate with your employee to lower or even suspend, the payment during this period. There is also the possibility to temporarily transfer employees to perform other tasks not contemplated under the labor contract. So this is another possibility. And there is also specific regulations that applies to employees that have been placed in mandatory medical isolation. So in such a case, they are still entitled to the salary for work suspension. So this salary should be mutually agreed between the two parties, but should not be lower than the regional minimum salary, which is in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City around 4 million Vietnamese dong.
Thank you, Marian. So, and Don, if your CFO came to you and said, you need to cut costs, and I'm looking at salary cut, what would your response be to the CFO? I mean, how would you agree with him, or would you try to talk him out of it or her out of it?
For us here at Heineken, our management have decided a series of priorities. So the first priority is to maintain the job security, employment, because the employee at the end after the pandemic is over. So maintaining the employment of everyone is a key priority. And then next, when we deal with the cost, the bottom line, we have to juggle between what is nice to have and what is must have. We play around between the fixed and variable. And we realize that before we touch the fixed, let's go to the variable. Whatever we can cut, we cut, like the benefits. Whatever is not relevant, is not appropriate, just make decision to cut. We inform and we align with the trade union before we communicate with the employees. And we get a mutual consensus of the employee. So far, all our approach have been well received by the employee. They are fully understand the situation. They are very appreciative that as long as they have their employment secure by the company, they are more than happy to join to force in to address the difficulties of the situation.
Okay, thank you, Don. What would you do if your CFO came and discussed this with you, and how would you respond to the CFO if they want to look at reducing staff costs? Yeah, and I think you have to unmute.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So at Novartis, I think that everyone's in the leadership teams well aware about the people is one of the critical assets of the company. So layoff or reduce the headcount is the very last actions of the company. So but we also face the challenge in terms of the cost management. So we discussed with the finance team and the leadership teams, and for those we identify as a key talents, we try to retain them and retain them with a very clear development plan. For the hiring plans, we try to delay as far as possible. For some critical role that we want to hire, but maybe cannot hire now because of the like short-term like financial things. We try to devise the things need to be done into a small piece and give that kind of like straight assignment or is a short-term assignment to our current talents. And so they take a small piece but they also happy because they can expose their visibility to other area. And also the last ones for non-critical role that we are actually plan to hire, we may have like no replacement for those we decide to leave the organization. So three things: first, try to retain the talent, the key talent. Second, have a short-term assignment for the work that we need to do. And last one, we have no replacement for non-critical roles. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anh. Mai, I would imagine that in the manufacturing or garment textile industry, a lot of blue-collar workers are laid off. But do you see an increase in middle management, white-collar professionals that are in the job market in the last few months? And what is the job market looking like in the next few months?
And Jack, I'm very sorry, but I cannot hear your question very clearly. Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. My question is that I would expect a lot of blue collar worker laborers to be unemployed. That's I think where the most of the unemployed people are. But do you see a surge and increase in middle management, white collar professionals that are reaching out to a search firm like Navigos for jobs?
All right. So can I just reconfirm your question is about the observations on any increase in candidates looking for the new jobs opportunities in this market, right?
That's right. Particularly the middle management level, middle management, white collar.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, we have made some surveys in Vietnam market, and from the recent surveys conducted by Vietnam Works, we have seen that 40% of the respondents shared that they have lost a full-time job, and also they are mainly from manufacturing, textile, garments, tourism, aviation, and so on and so forth. Like I mentioned earlier at the beginning. And for the middle and senior levels, we also observe that there are more and more candidates opening for the new opportunities. In the recent campaigns that Navigos Search conducted among the the talent markets for the middle management level and above, we received quite a lot of positive responses from the candidates in the market, and nearly 30% of the applications that we received actually coming from the candidates with over 10 years of experience. And almost half of them are currently at the mid-management level. Among the CVs that we received, 72% indicated that they are open for the new opportunities. That also means that there are more and more the trend that the people at the mid management level, they are also kind of in a ready mode to consider new opportunities that may come. But at the moment, most of them are quite stable in their current jobs because they, at the middle and senior levels, they are well aware of the importance to support the current companies to overcome this turbulence. And there are some senior candidates in the markets that they show their commitments to support the companies at these difficult times, not actually consider an even better opportunities at this moment to support their current companies. A very good kind of sign of the maturity of the talent markets. The industries that we have observed that there are a lot of candidates that looking around for the new opportunities, or even have to apply for the jobs now because they lose their jobs, is in manufacturing. About 24% of the candidates that reaching out to us for help from manufacturing, and then hospitalities and advertising or media.
Thank you, Mai. Colin, did you see the job market rebounding, particularly as it relates to the industry that have been hard hit, especially for the white collar office middle management level?
Well, I mean, there's some industries like tourism that will stay down quite some time. I think manufacturing will probably come back up generally, but there are even some sectors that are doing better through this. So anything related to, let's say, e-commerce is doing particularly well. And within my own company, we've just had quite a lot of new business come in because we're doing the business process outsourcing for people like banks in Europe. And a lot more people started using online banking in Europe during this time because they couldn't physically get to banks, just as their regular providers in places like India were shutting down because of restrictions. So Vietnam actually picked up quite a lot of work. So that's one sector that has gone up. So there'll be different speeds for different sectors. Tourism will probably be the slowest. Things that are technology related are even doing better now than they ever did.
Thanks, Colin. Let's change gear a little bit. During the social distancing requirement by the government, everybody had to work from home. I'd like to get our panelists' view on how effective or how successful or not successful working from home is. Can I ask Doan, how was your experience with employees working from home? Do you think it was effective, and what did you learn from that?
Well, what we experience is that working from home help us maintaining our business continuity. The good thing is that the technology has been proven to be effective, and that help us connect with each other, although not face to face but remotely. At least we can still meet, we can still make decision on a sometimes even measurement decision was taken place over working from home. And what we really enjoy is that we can nowadays have a meeting anywhere, anytime, regardless whether we don't need people to be sitting in the same meeting rooms or face to face, but we can meet everywhere, anytime. This is the convenience part. The inconvenience is that after several days or weeks working from home, people will start realizing that they are missing something, which is the physical interaction. So people need to shake hands. They need to see the face of each other. So this is something, and especially probably because our industry is more about enjoyment, about connecting with people. So this is what we are missing. But in reality, the current situation is pushing us forward to a digital age faster than we expected.
Yeah, you're right. I think the digital age, digital revolution was sort of forced upon us.
Yeah.
And many companies realized that they were not prepared. Other companies were very prepared. And how was the experience at Novartis? Did you see working from home as a success, or what was the employees' experience working from home?
Yeah, I think at Novartis we have like two kind of like different idea. The first group they really enjoy working from home because their work is not necessary to go to the office or go to the customer. So we stay at home doing like meetings, virtual meetings. And we realize that even it's more effective because we don't need to spend time on the roads or spend time for the traffic jams. So more meeting can be arranged, and the ways that we to make it more effective in the team meetings is maybe in some team that we do like virtual coffee in the mornings, like for check-ins, make sure that everyone when working from home, they have a best experience. In some associates homes, we even provide the Wi-Fi tools to support them. And also there's another group, they feel that working from home is not really effective, especially for those who are like customer facing roles or dealing a lot with the paperwork. So they feel that it's not work at all when they work from home. So they try to even minimize the coming to the office, but try to utilize the best protections once working in the office. So that's the two group. And even now when we're back to the normal situations, there's still some associates, they want to stay, want to work from home. And but I think the majority is we are really happy seeing each other physically.
That's great. And I think everybody missed the human interaction, the camaraderie of going to the office and socializing and working together. But I think in the future, there'll be a hybrid of some working from home and working in the office. I don't think we'll ever go back to working in the office full time. So let's look at some of the government policies that the Vietnamese government rolled out to help companies get through COVID-19 turbulent time. I think the government, I'll just list a few of the measures that they rolled out. They stopped compulsory insurance contribution up to June or December 2020 and imposed no late interest on late payment. The government also adjusted the deadline for trade union fee contribution, and it's also given some relief to PIT calculations. Marion, are you aware? I work a lot with your clients in helping them, maybe downsizing, restructuring, or some of these government measures. Do you see a lot of clients coming to a law firm like DFDL and asking how to restructure, how to take advantage of these government measures?
So yeah, Jack, certainly the government of Vietnam took many measures to help the companies to face the COVID-19 crisis. So as you mentioned, so there is financial support to companies, so there is loan or the possibility to postpone the collection of social insurance. So this has been helped companies a lot. There is also financial support to employees who work under employment contract, but the employment contract must be suspended as a result of the crisis. There is also the one guidance that is of interest for employers is the official letter number 1064, which provide for several options that can be availed by employers. So there is a possibility to suspend the work. So I mentioned before, so when employees are subject to mandatory medical isolation, there is also the possibility to transfer, the employees to other tasks not contemplated in the employment contract, or to suspend the employment contract subject to the mutual agreement of the parties. And finally, so this official letter provides some example under which, the employer can unilaterally terminate on the grounds of force majeure or make, its employees redundant. But maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later. Another measure that employers must have in mind is the temporary suspension of the issuance of new work permits, to foreign employees who comes from countries or territories where the virus is circulating. So in practice, we see that now the DOLISA in Hanoi actually accept the employers to submit new files, but the DOLISA in Ho Chi Minh City has stopped, receiving this application. So there is a few exemptions, especially for regarding the renewal of existing visa or work permits. So this remains possible, subject to certain conditions, but this is still possible to renew the work permits of working foreign employees right now.
Mm. So what? Just continue on that path, Marion. I mean, if companies need to downsize, but they can't reach an agreement with employees, and the employees, do not agree with the termination. Can employers call that a force majeure, and would that be legally allowed?
Yes, so this is a very interesting question because we have a lot of questions from clients willing, to that want to base the termination on these grounds. So this is permitted by the labor code. So this is the Article 38 that allows that. And the government of Vietnam also provided some guidance in the official letter number 1064, as I was mentioned before. So this type of termination is possible, but employers must be aware that all necessary measures have been taken to remedy the problem caused by the force majeure event, but still need to reduce the number of jobs. So this is a requirement under the law and under the official letter, which means that this option can be availed only as a last resort, and the employer should be able to demonstrate that previous but insufficient measures have been taken prior to the termination. So in practice, this means that as an employer, if you want to reach this option, you need to show that first, you discuss, leave arrangement with your employee, reduction of working time, reduction of salary, but despite, all the efforts undertaken by the parties, you cannot still, keep the employee. So if you opt for this option, you need to provide a prior notification to the employee. So it's 45 days in case of an indefinite term employment agreement, or 30 days for a definite term employment agreement. You still need to pay, the severance package. So the salary until the termination date, any outstanding payments, so any, accrued but untaken leave, any bonuses that have been accrued but not paid to the employee. And when the employee has more than 12 months of seniority in the company, and, where the parties did not contribute to the unemployment insurance scheme, the severance allowance is equivalent to half month's salary for each year of service. Which is interesting to note is there is a kind of uncertainty as to the scope of application of the official letter 1064. So this letter mainly focuses on difficulties caused by material supplies and market issues within production industries, and does not clearly refer to or consider service enterprises. So again, when employers want to reach on the force majeure ground, they need to be very cautious and make sure that there is no other option available to the company, because how the tribunals will react when they will have claims based on unfair termination. We still need to see how they will assess these grounds for termination. So there is another possibility when you want to downsize. There is so the employers may implement what we call a redundancy scheme. So this grounds for termination is possible for economic reasons, but in practice, a bit complicated to implement, since you need to have the involvement of the trade unions. You need to formulate what we call a labor utilization plan that needs to be discussed with the trade unions as well. And this is a bit time consuming, since you need to notify the labor authority 30 days in advance prior to, the termination. So yeah, so maybe more complicated to put in practice than termination on the grounds of force majeure or mutual agreement on termination.
Thank you, Marion. I just, based on my conversations with a lot of people, with my friends, and as Dawn and Anna mentioned earlier, I think termination employees is the last step that any company want to take, any HR leader will want to do. But I've heard of many companies in Vietnam asking, I guess from the top up, from the C-suite level position to middle management, to take a pay cut, and that I think you know, when the airline industry was grounded at the outbreak of COVID, I think this is public news. I think Vietnam Airlines asked their managers to take 40-50% pay cut. I've heard of many other firms that have asked management level to take 40-50%. Actually, I heard of one very big manufacturing company that asked their board of management to work for free for a couple of months. So is that, I guess, Colin, in your experience, is that a practical and realistic step for companies to take? And you know, probably the best decision to make to maintain the labor force. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have to differentiate a little bit between the immediate reaction and something going forward. So as an immediate reaction, yes, that is the correct way to go, to avoid headcount reduction and take temporary cuts. But I think in the medium and long term, one really has to look at how this, you know, works with the other digital transformation, automation, these other processes that this is a long-term cost and what is a short-term measure. But it's certainly not to say this is just a temporary pause and then it's everything back to normal again. It won't be. So it's being honest with people. What is a short-term measure and what you're considering for a long-term measure? We have to differentiate there.
Thanks, Colin. I guess from employees' point of view, you know, if companies take the harsh step and downsize, I mean, it will it will send a very negative message to the industry, to future employees, whether they want to work with that company or not. And if you were an employee, I think you know, if a company has a history of job cuts, as an employee, you might want to stay away from that company. I mean, Mai, can you share your experience? You know, company that actually restructure and downsize, and how do future prospective employees feel about that?
Well, I think that because in business, anything can happen, right? And in the companies that we have seen that are very successful in downsizing during the hard time, I see that the key success factors for them, the communication, because you know if the employees are involved and understand the company's situation, and then also they see the efforts from the top management on securing their jobs, then there will certainly be the collaboration and the willingness from the staff level, you know, and the mid-management level to support that process as well. From my own experience, I honestly have not come across or I have not worked for any companies that had to apply the headcount cutting. But what we have been trying to do, or even at Navigos Group, during this hard time, we still decide not to cut down the headcount, but instead we are trying to optimize the workforce. An example that our TA team is a very practical example that I want to share. Our TA team, right now, we are freezing the recruitment, right? And same like Ann shared before, we have decided not to recruit the replacement. So what the TA team gonna do? So what they are doing now is that the TA team now is focusing more on the engagement activities, supporting all the business units to look after the employees' morale, doing all of the employer branding activities, and also, because in our companies, we are the recruitment, in the recruitment business. So the TA team is also helping the consultant teams to look after or to engage more with the candidates. So it's just one example to show that if the management team is doing our best to find the best way to restructure the job scope in even the supporting roles, then people would appreciate that. And the management team, if we communicate clearly about our plan on how to support the team to be more productive, and at the same time encouraging all the creative ways of doing business to contribute more values to our customers, then the people would understand and get the message. They will need to either improve themselves to catch up with the new challenge, or to adapt with the new normal, or they will need to look for another opportunities, or even some of our employees, they are willing to take the unpaid leave period, yeah, to help out with the business, and to give that time for some additional things like learning or training, to sharpen their skills and get ready for the stronger bounce back when the market is normalized. I think for that, and cutting headcounts may not be a very good, or may not be the only solutions for businesses, but if we have to do it, involve the employees and get their support to realize that plan, and just give the priorities for them to come back to your companies when business is back to normal.
Thank you, Mai. Okay, let's look at the crystal ball for the rest of the year. From the legal aspect, Mary, do you see more companies maybe approaching DFDL for services in terms of restructuring? What's your forecast, I guess, for the rest of the year? I mean, I know the economy has just restarted, but that doesn't mean that companies have stopped struggling. I think the pain will continue, and probably continue on to 2021. What do you see ahead, Marian?
So it's difficult to anticipate, to be honest with you, and I will echo Colin's comments earlier during the webinar. Vietnam is actually doing not well, but it's quite okay, especially regarding the number of infected cases that have been and remains very low. There is still some activity here, and from a practical point of view, I would say that companies still, try to keep the staff right now. So we have, of course, some, questions and new engagement for downsizing and terminating employees. But so far, we haven't seen any massive layoffs, I would say. We were only engaged by one client on this aspect, but yeah. So right now, it's terminating individuals employees for the moment. So this is quite encouraging. We'll see, how things goes during the coming months. In any case, and I will actually echo my comments that I made before on, the various options when you want to terminate employees. Yeah. What we generally recommend in practice is, trying to negotiate with employees mutual agreement on termination, because Vietnamese is very protective to employees, and there is always a risk when you choose, the path of, unilateral termination on the grounds of force majeure or redundancy. There is always a risk that the employee file a claim before the labor court, and we know that, the labor courts in Vietnam are quite employee friendly. So to the extent possible, as an employer, please try to negotiate a mutual agreement on termination. It has the benefit of the simplicity and flexibility, since the procedure to negotiate and the date of termination is really determined by the parties. You reduce the risk of dispute, as I was saying, and especially because the employee in the agreement will waive all claims he or she may have against the company. So this option, of course, is a little bit more costly for the company because you need to pay all the severance package that is normally due. But in general, in order to induce the employee to sign such an agreement, you will provide the employee with an ex gratia payment. The amount is freely determined between the parties, but yeah, this is something, this ex gratia payment is normally taken into account by the employer. And yeah, so that's why, as an employer, you will always prefer this option.
Thank you, Marian. And Dawn, so after this work from home experience and I've heard of people saying that, some companies realize that once employees were working from home, that they had more employees than they needed for the job. What's your company's plan for the rest of the year? Are you adopting more work from home? Are you, in terms of headcount, are you maintaining your headcount or adding more, or what's the plan for the rest of the year?
Okay. Well, in terms of working from home, we have decided that everyone will return to their normal day-to-day operations, and it is also in alignment with the needs of everyone, because we hear more opposite feedback about working from home. Because, as mentioned, our industry is more about engagement, about enjoyment, and connecting with people. So therefore, bringing back people to the office make them more excited. So we realize that everyone is already back to their normal operation, back to the office. In terms of the future plan, so far, as mentioned earlier, we are not laying off people. We are deploying those who are not in needs for the time being to other areas where it is more relevant. But in the long term, from now to year end, we still maintain our decision to freeze hire. We are not going to hire additional headcounts. We need to be cautious to see how the market is developing, and then from there we will make decision on a later stage. For the time being, no layoff, no minus, but also no increase in headcount.
Okay, thank you, and Don. And what about Novartis? What's the plan for the rest of the year? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for Novartis, we now we are already back to the new normal situation. So the new normal now is defined as, for example, that we encourage the team to back to work in the office, but no one should feel that they are forced to return to work into the office. And we will leverage more virtual engagement activity, either with the external customer or with the internal meetings. So encourage the virtual meetings. I think that now the main key stakeholder of Novartis is the HCP, the healthcare professional or the doctor. They are now also very familiar with the virtual meeting. So it makes the work is more easier in the virtual environments. And also we apply practice better personal hygiene, keep educating the associate to keep hygiene, and also allow them, especially for those who are feel unwell, or someone they need to take care of the relative or the family member who are in sick, they are allowed to work from home. And we may relaunch the work from home policies. In the past, we just have like a few days per year, about 12 days per year. It means like 1 day per month. But now we allow the associate that they whenever they want or they feel that work from home is more effective, they are allowed to work from home in alignment with the line managers. And Also, we ensure the local, the government's guidelines, make sure that the guideline from the government, the prime minister is followed all the time. And even when they come to the office, come to work, we also practice social distance, ensure for example, less than people at the same time in the same meeting rooms, even practice like distance, like keep distance about like 1 or 2 meters at least when we have conversations. So that's that way that we even come back to the normal, but it's a new normal, and make sure that every employee feels safety at work.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, that's certainly the new normal until they find a vaccine for this virus, at least. Okay, let's go to the final question before we move to a question and answer. We've covered a lot of things in the last hour or so. So what, if you're a job seeker in this market, a very tough market, I mean, how do you, what advice do you give to job seeker, to new recruits, graduates, or even experienced professional that are looking for a job in this market? Let's go with Navigos first, recruitment firm. What advice would you give to job seeker, Mai?
Well, I think that for the job seekers, we would need to understand the morale or the expectation from the employers, especially when we have a lot of changes in the requirements or the behaviors that the employers would expect from the job seekers. So the work from home and new normal period have taught the companies and also the job seekers, the candidates in this market, a lot of valuable lessons. The lessons of being adaptable, being ready for any changes, right? And we have been talking to the candidates in this market over and over about future of work, about the needs to adopt the technologies to make our jobs, our work more productive. So for the job seekers at this moment, it's the time for us to back at at ourselves to see what would be the skills, the knowledge that we still do not have enough to catch with the new opportunities that coming to our market in, let's say, very near future when the economy become normal again. So what they can do is to invest their time on learning the skills, the knowledge relating to their market, and watch out for all of the information that relating to their career, their jobs, their industry that they are working in, and utilize technologies to do the online learning, equip themselves with the new knowledge, the new skills, increase the interaction with the people within the industry. An example, accountants, for example, they can be more proactive in connecting with people like Jack, right? To get the guidance or the feedback on what the partners in a professional firm like Mazars is looking at in the candidate's quality, and make use of this time to equip themselves. And also, they would need to make themselves as the valuable person. Creating value would be the key for them to catch with the opportunities that will come back after the pandemic is more or less stabilized.
Thank you, Mai. Colin, do you have anything to add to that in your experience as an HR leader past 20 plus years?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like we said before, the pandemic has forced and speeded up the need for adaptation and transformation. So a lot of these skills that job seekers now need are these human skills. So actually getting things done. They're less around qualifications and they can be picked up very quickly. So, if a job seeker had an afternoon spare, why not learn how to program Python and artificial intelligence? It could be done literally in an afternoon. So there's some unexpected new technologies out there that people should familiarize themselves with. And especially these human skills. It's not university or formal training. It can be done informally. It's really just come across and get the job done at the end of the day.
Right, right. Thank you, Colin. Okay, that's all the questions for this webinar. Let's go to the Q&A session from our guests that are listening in. Okay, let's go with the first question. Are the companies encouraging employees to improve their skills, and are they supporting employees to improve their skills? And I guess this is more relevant now than ever. So at your company, is your company promoting, supporting employees to improve their skills through training or through more education? Can you share, please?
Yes, sure. At Novartis, we actually when during the pandemic times, we encourage associates to go online course. That we prepare. That way, we will prepare ourselves when we come back to the normals. We will be even more ready. Like upskill, provides some more skill sets for the associates via the virtual online training. So like when we start the working from homes, from the HR team, we send the list of the online course from the Coursera, from the like Novartis online platforms with many training course that meet the associates area for improvements and also their interest. They have free and free access to the online trainings, and they can choose any topics that they want to develop, or through the development conversation with their line managers. The line managers or the mentor or the coach can recommend them a few area that they can look at, and a few courses that they can take during their free times at home. So it's quite flexible in terms of the timeline. So they and flexible in terms of the selections that they can feel free, and for that way we encourage the learning cultures at the organizations, and the employee, they also appreciates, because if during the working time, normal working time, they hardly find the spare time to join the online trainings. But now this and they fully aware that to prepare for the back to normal periods, it is a great opportunity to upskill themselves. Yeah, so that's the practice that Novartis do. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Doan, then one of the question is, I guess it depends on the level of position in the company, but where should the employees invest their learning in hard technical skills or in soft skills? For me, I would imagine the higher you are in a company, higher position, then you would look to invest in learning more soft skills. What's your take?
Well, we realized very quickly that the working from home, we offer more spare time, for free time for employees, because apart from meetings, they cannot interact much, or they have to face the burdens of the office day-to-day operation. So I'm sure everyone have a certain free times. So we are promoting within the organization that everyone should take the opportunity to upskill themselves and make themselves ready for the acceleration after the pandemics. As you know, Heineken is also the main global sponsor of F1 race. Which I suppose you have
Yes.
in Hanoi this early
Yes. April.
But now, so in F1 we have a technology called pit stop. So after several rounds of run, they will stop for a few seconds to replace the wheel, to replace the engine or whatsoever. So we call it a pit stop in our organization, and we believe we take this example for employees that okay, this is a time, a chance for everyone to have a pit stop to recharge the energy to rebuild their knowledge, their capability, and also get ready to join the race faster than before. So we are promoting, connecting our people, our employees with the online training, the e-learning that is available from global to regional and also to local level. But it's not new to employees. The fact is that before, during the day-to-day operations, they hardly find a free time, and also they enjoy the attending the face-to-face classroom training. But now, with new technology and a new opportunity, we connect them again, and they really enjoy the new way of learning.
Great. Thank you, Doan. Marion, this is for you. If my company terminated us and the severance package offer is not in accordance with what the law allows, the company claim that they cannot pay anymore, what is my recourse? What options do I have to pursue the severance that I'm entitled to?
So if the company is not in a position to pay the full severance package, I think our recommendation will be to enter into a mutual separation agreement to the extent possible. Because otherwise the risks that the employee files a claim before the labor court is too high. The problem we might have, even under a mutual termination agreement, is that according to the labor code and the case law, past decision rendered by the labor court in Vietnam, the terms of the mutual termination agreement must be fair and reasonable. And if you don't provide the employee with the full package he's entitled under the law, there is always a risk that, despite the waiver clause that we will put in the mutual termination agreement, there is always a risk that the employee says that the terms are not favorable to him or her, and the employee can still file a claim before the tribunal, and the tribunal can say, yeah, indeed, it's not favorable to the employee. So I don't have a clear answer. My recommendation will be try to, negotiate with the employee. But yeah, the absence of risk in terms of litigation exposure is not 100% sure in this case.
I think mutual negotiation is always preferred route, but if the employer at the end still can't reach an agreement with the employee, do you see examples employee taking employer to court and pursue this in legal way?
Yes, of course. So actually, an interesting example, we had a case recently on that, is regarding the hiring and termination of expatriate employees. Because expatriate employees have, in general, definite term employment agreements, because, the employment agreements is normally back-to-back with the work permit duration. And we have seen companies, applying the regime of definite term employment agreements, especially regarding, the notice period applicable, which is only 30 days and not 45 days. But especially in regard to the severance package and the severance allowance to be paid, because the severance package is based on the length of seniority of the employee within the company. But if you take only the seniority of the employee under the current employment contract, then it will be less than the actual seniority of the employee, because the employee may have a definite term employment contract for which is active for 1 year, but in reality he has been working for the company for 10 years. So this is the kind of engagements that we have, and our recommendation is to be very cautious when you want to apply the regime for applicable to definite term employment agreement. Because the likelihood that the tribunal say no, this employee has been working for the company for 10 years and not only 2 years under the current employment agreement, so this is very likely that the labor court will take into account the whole duration of the employment relationship with the employee.
Thank you. Okay, I think the last question I have is for Mai. Mai, I mean, there's going to be a flood, I guess, or now or in the near future, of very talented people available in the market. I mean, I think speaking on behalf of Mazars, I would keep my eyes out for talented people that I might want to recruit into Mazars. I mean, how should companies take advantage of this, I guess, opportunistic time of the available talent available in the market?
Well, honestly, I think that it's not about taking advantage of the situation, but rather looking at the current situation in the companies and also looking ahead to the futures and see what kind of talents that will help your organizations to really booming and move forward in the near future. So in terms of the talents markets, especially for the talents at the senior level or the experts in the fields, it is all the time that we will need to, number one, to take care to retain them in your companies, right? And number two is to have a clear strategy on what type of people that will need for your business in the future and start looking around as soon as possible. Right now, the situation would be slightly better for the businesses because of the situation, and then also more talents are available now. So what we need to do, I understand that a lot of companies are freezing the recruitment, right? Or even down the headcounts. But for the critical positions or the critical talents, I see that our clients still make their plan to move ahead with the recruitment because number one, it takes time, right? And number two, it would take more efforts to find the right and the suitable person for the organizations. So the recruitment process is better start from now to really engage and to have enough time for finding the right fit. And I think that would be the right strategy for all the businesses to get ready.
Yeah. Colin, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, so the main thing for companies, just as a last thought really, is if they are going to reduce headcount, is do it quickly. Cut once, cut deep and move on. Because as soon as you tell employees, oh, I'm thinking of maybe reducing headcount, they won't be able to think of anything else and they certainly won't perform. So companies have to be very professional when they do this to retain their good people. And of course, yes, use the opportunity to gain market share and gain good people if they can.
Okay. Thank you, Colin. And I think that's the only that's all the questions we have, and we're just about up on time as well. Once again, I would like to thank you on behalf of Mazars, Cancham, and Navigos, Colin and Doan and Marion, Mai, for your very valuable and great contribution to the panel today. I think we covered a lot of great topics, a lot of interesting subject that people in the HR industry are want to know. So once again, thank you very much, and thank you all attendees for listening in. I hope it was very useful and informative session for you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.